King Charles apparently had a witness present when Harry and Meghan came to visit. This is interesting. This is according to page 6.
Under the guise of some sort of 20 people coming to look round Highgrove, through the back on Friday in a blacked-out van, sped Prince Harry, Meghan Markle and the 2 children to see their grandfather. We're not quite sure how long it lasted. Some people are saying an hour. Some are saying more.
Meghan Markle, Prince Archie, and Princess Lilibet are reuniting with King Charles right now in the UK.
Remember, 47 minutes is not a reconciliation. It's not a get-together, we're so thrilled to see you.
Basically, to put Harry and Meghan in their place and to make them understand that they are not in the driving seat anymore.
This meeting had happened. It was a background briefing from the palace, but it is official. The king met Meghan and Harry and the children, the king and queen.
Reports now suggest that what was expected to become one of the most significant royal reconciliations in years may have collapsed almost before it had the chance to begin. According to multiple reports circulating in the British press, Meghan Markle's long-anticipated meeting with King Charles at Highgrove Estate lasted just 47 minutes before she was reportedly seen departing the property. A remarkably brief visit that immediately ignited widespread speculation across royal circles and social media alike, for an encounter many believed carried enormous emotional and symbolic importance. The reported timeline seemed surprisingly short, leaving countless observers wondering whether something unexpected had unfolded behind closed doors, or whether expectations had simply been far greater than reality, for a gathering that many believed could mark the beginning of a long-awaited new chapter for the royal family.
On Prince Harry's most recent UK trip, and that the trip turned into a nightmare, forcing Markle and her children to return home
to see Meghan and King Charles, Queen Camilla, and the small talk for that exchange. How long was it? I guess more details may still filter through, but this is a big deal. The Prince Charles and Camilla previously spent time with his grandchildren in 2022. After it was a fantastic visit. The prince was delighted to see his grandson and meet his granddaughter for the first time back then. Prince and Duchess of Cornwall were absolutely thrilled to see them. This was before the future king had not seen Archie for a bit of time, and as he was a baby when Harry and Meghan stepped back.
Well, the first thing, Mark, is I'm sure you're aware with Buckingham Palace, there's always rooms. There's always accommodation. We would never, ever put in the impression, when I worked there, that if somebody wanted a room, especially a member of the family, we're the ones that will give them the moment's notice, So I find this very hard to believe. I think quite simply, the way Harry dealt with it, I think the palace thought, do you know what? We're going to take back control of the situation and, give a very polite response and just say that, with the time frame and everything, it's not possible to fulfill his request.
Nullifies her claims, Harry's claims that they can't possibly return to the United Kingdom without royal security because the press won't leave them alone.
The reported duration was unexpectedly brief, becoming the centerpiece of intense public discussion almost immediately. Royal commentators, journalists, and online audiences quickly began debating whether the meeting had achieved its intended purpose or whether unseen disagreements had brought it to an abrupt conclusion. With so little officially confirmed, the absence of clear answers only fueled even more curiosity, allowing speculation to spread rapidly as people searched for clues about what might have happened during those crucial moments inside the estate. Was this truly the fresh start many had hoped for? Or did the reconciliation unravel?
Aside from Charles and Camilla, there was no one else around to witness the meeting, so we may likely never know what happened behind closed doors. Now, I don't believe this. I think we will know what happened because it's going to start to leak. There have already been leaks that apparently it went well, the meeting was amazing. There are now stories just happening to pop up on the internet about how Meghan and Harry should work their way back into the royal family, how they should be accepted back into the royal family. And to that I say, stay away, demons. I would not let them come back with a 10-foot pole, okay? If you want to bring the kids over once a year to see King Charles, great, have at it. But I just think, screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, 3 times, shame on me.
Yeah, this is the first time that the king has actually met his granddaughter and grandson from Prince Harry's side of the family since the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee all the way back in June 2022. And if you were to ask me on Monday afternoon whether I thought this meeting would take place, I would have told you absolutely no chance.
Before it ever had a real chance. In this video, we'll separate reported claims from confirmed facts, examine why this brief meeting has generated so much discussion, and explore what it could mean for the future of Harry and Meghan's relationship with the royal family. For weeks, many reports suggested Meghan Markle would not return to the United Kingdom because she and her children had not been granted taxpayer-funded security. Then, almost overnight, the story appeared to change. Fresh reports claimed Meghan had travelled to Britain with the children for a meeting with King Charles, a visit that was being described as a possible first step toward repairing years of strained family relations. It was an unexpected development that immediately caught the public's attention. After years of tension, public disagreements and repeated speculation.
So I think it was a little bit of tit for tat, but we've seen this before, Matt, haven't we? We saw this 6 years ago, or whenever it was, when the war, when they had the Sandringham summit and everything, and we had the big initial fallout, and the palace saying one thing and Harry's camp saying another. So this is an example of how we still have it many years on, and it shows that behind closed doors there's still a lot of friction going on.
It's been reported that Markle's frustrations came from the couple not receiving taxpayer-funded security and not being allowed to stay at Buckingham Palace.
They've been vacationing with their children in Europe, and Harry's been making this whole stink. Will he come back? Will he not come back? Will he come back? Will Meghan come back? Is there enough security? Wah, wah, wah. Well, this is also the countdown to 1 year to the Invictus Games, which everybody's lost track of. Nobody's talking about that. They're all talking about Harry's big loss in the UK, as well as the fact that he's not actually bringing the family. So this is a slight win they needed badly, and I'm kind of shocked that the king ultimately did do.
About whether reconciliation was even possible. Many wondered if this could finally be the breakthrough, but that optimism did not last long. Almost as quickly as the reports emerged, new questions began to surface. If this visit was truly meant to rebuild bridges, why did it appear to unravel so quickly? And what could have happened behind closed doors to turn what looked like a hopeful meeting into yet another source of controversy? Reports suggested that King Charles was open to the idea because it could finally give him an opportunity to spend time with Archie and Lilibet after years apart. To many observers, the visit looked like more than just a family meeting. It seemed like a rare chance for father and son to begin repairing their relationship while the king got to know his grandchildren in person. What many believed could become a touching family moment reportedly carried much bigger expectations than anyone first realized. Some reports even suggested King Charles had hoped to personally show Archie and Lilibet around Highgrove.
This trip to the UK, that there was a bit of will they, won't they? Harry goes by himself, and then suddenly Meghan Markle with the kids in they trot as well. But there have been some reports that the family reunion that they had with the King and the Queen may have not gone as planned for Meghan. There are some suggestions that it probably wasn't warm and fuzzy. I can't imagine why.
So she allegedly took her kids to go see King Charles and Queen Camilla. She's on this new cooking show in Australia talking about connection and family and coming together and communion and love and light and positivity and all the words she probably has picked up from a Mel Robbins podcast. But Meghan Markle, she still won't let her kids go and see their grandfather, right? If you have issues with your father, like most people have issues in their families, they have family dynamics and family drama. That's very common. There's not a person watching this who doesn't have drama within their family.
Introducing them to parts of the historic estate and sharing pieces of family history they had never experienced after growing up in Montecito. To many royal watchers, that possibility represented far more than a simple walk through the gardens. It was viewed as a rare opportunity to create personal memories together and perhaps begin rebuilding connections that had been strained for years. On the surface, it sounded exactly like the kind of quiet, private visit that could slowly ease years of tension without the pressure of public appearances or official ceremonies. A calm setting, away from cameras and headlines, seemed like the perfect environment for meaningful conversations and small steps toward reconciliation. For a brief moment, many believed this might finally become the turning point that both sides had been unable to reach, despite years of speculation and repeated discussions about reconciliation. But if those hopes were genuine, events reportedly unfolded very differently, and what was expected to become a meaningful family reunion quickly turned into the subject of fresh questions and growing speculation. Instead of the emotional family gathering many had imagined, reports described a meeting that was formal, tightly managed, and carefully controlled from beginning to end. Rather than creating the impression that years of tension had finally faded, the reported visit appeared to reinforce that clear boundaries were still firmly in place. According to those reports, protocol came before personal warmth, with every stage of the meeting following a structured and carefully organized approach. For many watching from the outside, it looked less like a heartfelt family reunion and more like an official engagement where caution outweighed emotion. If the goal was to signal that trust had been restored, the reported atmosphere seemed to suggest the opposite, leaving many wondering whether the distance between both sides remained far greater than anyone had realized. But this is where the story reportedly took another unexpected turn. According to those same reports, the meeting did not unfold the way Meghan may have anticipated. Rather than receiving the warm, symbolic welcome some observers had imagined, the conversation was described as carefully structured, with clear boundaries, established protocol, and deliberately limited expectations. If those reports are accurate, the message appeared straightforward. Rebuilding trust after years of public tension would not happen during a single meeting. Any future relationship would likely need to develop gradually, one careful step at a time and on the royal family's terms, rather than through one highly anticipated reunion. For many observers, that became the biggest takeaway. Instead of signaling that the past had finally been left behind, the reported outcome suggested that long-standing issues were still very much unresolved. Whether that result was expected or not, the meeting appeared to conclude with more unanswered questions than genuine progress, leaving many to wonder just how far apart both sides may still remain. Before anyone reportedly exchanged a single meaningful word with King Charles, the visit had already taken an unexpected direction that few people saw coming. According to the reports, Harry and Meghan did not immediately walk in to meet the king as some may have expected. Instead, they were reportedly asked to wait while final arrangements were completed and standard royal procedures were carried out before the meeting could officially begin. For many following the story, that small detail quickly became one of the most discussed parts of the entire visit because it appeared to reveal how carefully every moment had been planned from the very start. Even before any private conversation reportedly took place, the process itself seemed to establish the tone for everything that followed. If those reports are accurate, it suggested this would not be a relaxed family gathering where emotions guided the day. Instead, it appeared to be a carefully managed meeting, conducted according to long-established royal procedures, with structure and protocol taking priority over spontaneity. That reported approach immediately led many observers to wonder whether expectations for a warm reunion had been far too optimistic from the beginning. For many royal watchers, that detail stood out because it suggested the focus remained on order and tradition rather than emotion. Whether intentional or not, the reported start of the visit created the impression that any effort to rebuild the relationship would move slowly, cautiously, and according to the royal family's timetable, rather than Harry and Meghan's. It also reinforced the view that any future progress would likely require patience instead of dramatic breakthroughs. From the outside, it may have looked as though Harry and Meghan were expecting a much warmer reception. After all, the visit had been widely discussed as a possible turning point after years of family tension, with many hoping it could finally open the door to meaningful reconciliation after so much public disagreement. But according to the reports, that was not how events unfolded. Instead, everything appeared to follow established palace procedures from the very beginning. With little indication that the usual protocols had been relaxed for such an important occasion, the reported approach suggested every stage of the visit would be handled according to long-standing royal customs, reinforcing the impression that the institution, not the Sussexes, would determine exactly how the meeting would take place. For many observers, that detail spoke volumes. rather than signalling that old divisions had disappeared. It suggested the royal family was choosing a cautious and measured approach, making it clear that any path toward reconciliation would unfold on its own terms, rather than through expectations or symbolic gestures alone. Then came the moment that drew the greatest attention. According to the reports, Meghan was seen leaving the Highgrove estate after just 47 minutes. Whether that reported time frame reflected the entire visit or only one part of it, the brief duration immediately fueled widespread speculation. For a meeting that had been presented as a possible turning point in the relationship, many people expected something far more substantial, making the reported timeline one of the biggest talking points surrounding the visit. What surprised many people most was not simply that the meeting happened, it was how quickly it reportedly came to an end. Instead of becoming the lengthy family reunion that many had imagined, the unusually brief visit immediately raised questions about how much could realistically have been accomplished in such a short amount of time. No one outside the room knows exactly what was discussed, and the details of the private conversation have never been made public. That lack of confirmed information only encouraged more public curiosity, with many wondering whether the meeting unfolded as originally planned or whether expectations changed once everyone was finally together. Even so, the report suggested that while King Charles was pleased to spend time with his grandchildren after such a long separation, there was no indication that the meeting produced any major breakthrough between the two sides. For many observers, that distinction was important. Seeing family again and rebuilding long-standing trust are two very different things, and the reported outcome appeared to reflect that reality. Rather than ending with a dramatic reconciliation or a visible sign that old wounds had healed, the meeting was described as concluding with polite greetings, formal courtesies, and a quiet departure. There were no public photographs, no joint statement, and no symbolic moment that suggested the years of tension had finally been left behind. Instead, the reported visit appeared to end with the same level of discretion and caution that had characterized it from the very beginning. As a result, many people were left with the impression that despite the historic nature of the visit, the distance between the Sussexes and the royal family remained largely unchanged. While the meeting itself attracted enormous attention, the reported outcome seemed to generate even more questions than answers about where the relationship truly stands today. After the meeting, reports claimed Meghan and the children left Highgrove, while Harry remained in the United Kingdom to continue preparations for the Invictus Games. From that point forward, the visit appeared to come to a quiet conclusion, with little to suggest it had produced the breakthrough that many had anticipated after weeks of growing speculation. Throughout her reported stay in Britain, Meghan also remained largely out of the public eye. Some commentators speculated that she was avoiding public appearances because of concerns about how she might be received. However, those claims have not been officially confirmed, making it impossible to know whether those assumptions accurately reflected the situation. There were also reports suggesting that gifts connected to her as ever lifestyle brand were not warmly received, although those claims likewise remain unverified. Without official confirmation from those directly involved, it is impossible to determine exactly what may have happened behind closed doors, or whether those reports accurately reflected private events. Even so, the reports painted a remarkably consistent picture. Rather than becoming the symbolic fresh start that many had predicted, the visit appeared to conclude quietly, with no public display of reconciliation, no joint appearance, and no clear indication that attitudes toward Meghan had significantly changed. If the reports are accurate, the meeting may have reopened lines of communication, but it did not appear to produce the kind of visible progress many people had expected. Many people believed the meeting would last much longer. After all, reports suggested King Charles had not seen his grandchildren for several years, making this appear to be an exceptionally rare opportunity for the family to reconnect away from cameras and public attention. For that reason alone, many assumed there would be ample time for private conversations, meaningful family moments, and perhaps the first genuine steps toward rebuilding trust. But according to those same reports, The visit concluded in less than an hour. That single reported detail quickly became one of the biggest talking points surrounding the entire meeting, leaving many people wondering what could have unfolded during such a remarkably short visit. What continued to capture the most attention wasn't simply that the meeting happened, it was how little time it reportedly lasted and what that seemed to suggest afterward. While the length of a meeting alone cannot reveal what was discussed or what may have been accomplished behind closed doors, it naturally raised questions about how much meaningful progress could realistically have been achieved in such a limited amount of time. Royal commentators were quick to point out that the reported timeline appeared to reinforce a much broader reality. For many observers, the short duration became almost as significant as the meeting itself, fueling conversations long after the reported visit had ended. Rather than signaling that years of tension had finally been put aside, the reported meeting seemed to indicate that the deeper issues between the Sussexes and the royal family may still be far from resolved. Instead of marking the beginning of a dramatic new chapter, the visit appeared to highlight just how carefully both sides were approaching every step. If those reports accurately reflected the situation, it suggested that rebuilding trust remained a long-term process rather than something that could be achieved through one highly anticipated family gathering. If the reports are accurate, any genuine reconciliation is likely to require far more than a single meeting, no matter how significant that meeting may have appeared beforehand. Years of public disagreements, strained relationships, and intense media attention are not issues that can easily disappear in one afternoon, making patience seem just as important as the meeting itself. As news of the reported visit spread, attention quickly shifted toward Meghan's reported body language as she departed Highgrove. Some royal commentators argued that she did not appear like someone leaving after a major family breakthrough. Instead, they believed she looked disappointed or frustrated. Body language, however, is always open to personal interpretation and cannot confirm what someone is truly thinking or feeling. Even so, another detail that fueled speculation was the absence of an official family photograph. Many had expected that if the meeting had represented a significant step toward reconciliation, there might have been a photograph acknowledging the occasion. No such image was released. Soon afterward, reports claimed Meghan and the children were preparing to return to the United States, adding even more discussion about whether the visit had produced the outcome that many people had anticipated. Reports also suggested King Charles was proceeding with considerable caution because the tensions within the royal family had not simply disappeared. According to those reports, he faced a difficult balancing act. On one side was the opportunity to spend meaningful time with his grandchildren after years apart. On the other was the responsibility of considering how any move toward reconciliation might affect the rest of the family and the wider institution. The reported rift between Prince Harry and Prince William is still believed to remain unresolved, while Harry's criticism of Queen Camilla in Spare added another layer of complexity to an already difficult family situation. Taken together, those reported issues may help explain why the meeting was consistently described as careful, measured, and far from the emotional reunion many had imagined. According to those same reports, the ongoing tensions were one of the main reasons King Charles approached the meeting so cautiously. Rather than allowing emotions to dictate how the visit unfolded, it was described as structured, formal, and guided by clearly established boundaries. That reported approach appeared to reflect an effort to balance personal family relationships with broader institutional responsibilities. Many royal commentators argued that this was the only realistic path available. As both a father and the head of the monarchy, every decision King Charles makes carries consequences beyond his personal relationships. For that reason, the reported tone of the meeting suggested he was determined not to create the impression that years of public disagreements and family tensions had simply disappeared overnight. For supporters of Harry and Meghan, the meeting itself was viewed as an encouraging development. After years of public distance, they saw it as a possible first step toward repairing damaged family relationships. Others, however, interpreted the reported outcome very differently, believing it suggested that meaningful reconciliation may still have a long road ahead. Although the reported meeting did take place, many commentators argued that it did not produce the breakthrough so many people had been expecting. If the hope was to reopen the door to a much closer relationship with the royal family, the events that reportedly followed did not appear to point in that direction. Instead of creating the sense that years of tension had finally been left behind, the reported outcome suggested that many of the same challenges still remain. For many observers, the meeting seemed to represent only a small moment in a much longer story, rather than the dramatic turning point that headlines had led people to expect. Instead, the reports painted a picture of a situation that remained largely unchanged despite the significance of the visit itself. While communication may have taken place, there was little public indication that the deeper issues between the Sussexes and the royal family had been resolved. If the reports accurately reflected what happened, then the meeting appeared to be only one step in what could still be a long and uncertain process. Looking at everything that has been reported, many royal observers concluded that Meghan's first reported visit to the United Kingdom in years ultimately fell short of the expectations that surrounded it. There were no major announcements, no public display of family unity, and no clear sign that the long-standing differences within the family had been settled. Instead, the visit was described as brief, carefully managed, and conducted within well-established royal procedures, giving King Charles an opportunity to spend time with his grandchildren after years apart, while keeping the wider family situation carefully balanced. Beyond that, the reported outcome suggested that the larger issues within the family remain unresolved, leaving the possibility of a full reconciliation just as uncertain as it was before the meeting reportedly took place. While many people welcomed the fact that communication may have happened at all, others pointed out that meaningful progress is often measured by what follows afterward, rather than by one private conversation alone. The reported outcome could also carry wider implications beyond the family itself. Prince Harry has spent years building the Invictus Games into one of his best-known achievements, and the event continues to be closely associated with his work. However, some royal commentators believe the ongoing tensions within the family could make senior royals increasingly cautious about publicly participating in events connected to Harry, particularly while personal relationships remain unsettled. According to those reports, palace officials remain mindful that appearances involving Harry and Meghan frequently attract intense media attention, widespread public discussion, and competing interpretations. If that reported approach continues, visible participation by senior members of the royal family at future Invictus Games events could remain limited for the foreseeable future. Whether that eventually changes may depend on how relationships develop over time, rather than on any single meeting. For Meghan, the reported visit was widely expected to carry enormous symbolic importance. Many commentators believed it could become the first visible step toward rebuilding relations with the royal family after years of public tension. Some even speculated that the occasion might include a public photograph, a joint appearance, or another symbolic gesture showing that the relationship was moving in a more positive direction. But according to the reports that followed, none of those expectations appeared to materialize. The meeting at Highgrove was reportedly brief. No official photographs were released, no joint statement was issued, and the palace made no public announcement acknowledging the reported visit. If those reports accurately reflected what happened, the absence of any public acknowledgement left many observers wondering whether the visit had achieved the outcome that some had hoped for before it began. In the end, perhaps the biggest question is not whether the meeting happened, but whether it truly changed anything. Based on the reports that followed, there were no public signs of a major breakthrough, no official family photograph, no joint statement, and no visible indication that years of tension had suddenly come to an end. Instead, the reported developments suggested that rebuilding trust, if that remains the goal, could require far more time, patience, and private conversations than a single meeting. regardless of how significant that meeting may have appeared beforehand. Only those directly involved know exactly what was said behind closed doors, and much of the public discussion continues to be based on reported accounts and interpretation rather than confirmed details. As more information emerges over time, the picture may become clearer. Until then, the reported visit remains a topic that continues to generate debate, curiosity, and differing opinions among royal watchers around the world. Whether future developments support or challenge today's reports remains to be seen. But for now, many questions remain unanswered, ensuring that interest in this story is unlikely to fade anytime soon. Now we'd love to hear from you. Do you think this reported meeting was a genuine first step toward rebuilding family relationships? Or was it simply a polite visit that left the bigger issues unresolved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We always enjoy reading your perspective and joining the discussion. Your opinion helps keep these conversations going, and it's always interesting to see the different viewpoints from royal watchers around the world. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future updates. We have many more royal stories, developments, and in-depth discussions coming your way, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.